There we go. So recording, share screen, go like this, push play. Oops. Alrighty, so welcome everyone to tonight's team call. This team call is based on a film that I recently watched by Dr. Wayne Dyer. If you don't know who Dr. Wayne Dyer is, I highly recommend that you actually look him up. He's well known in like the self-help and personal development community, and he actually recently passed away. And this is a film that he really wanted like 3 million people to watch was his goal, and when he passed away, 1 million people had already seen it. So Hay House, the company who did the video, they actually let it go for free so that more people could watch it, and I actually found it for free on YouTube. So I've watched it a few times now already. So today is Tuesday, September the 8th, 2015. And we will get right into it. So this video, he pulls from a variety of stories, personal stories from his own life, from Lao Tzu. He pulls from Leo Tolstoy, quotes from T.S. Eliot, and so on. And it's a combination of interviews that were done with him, as well as it's mixed with these fictional characters, highlighting the shifts that these different people are going through in their lives. So there's like a mom and a businessman and a director, and it all takes place at this place called Asilomar. And Asilomar actually means refuge by the sea. And it was just a beautiful place. And so it was like, again, one of those experiences where you're out in nature and you're connecting with that natural energy, and it just causes some miraculous things to happen. And it was just a beautiful video to watch. And there was so much information that I could really connect with in what he was saying in his interviews. And he talks about morning versus afternoon of your life. And the morning refers to the time in your life when it is the ego that rules your life. And that's usually kind of like when you're in your teens and your 20s, really. That's when ego takes over. And a lot of people will go through a shift in their life. Some people never have that shift in their life. But the afternoon is the after you go through that mindset shift where the ego goes away and purpose and meaning are what begin to rule your life. And you no longer worrying about arriving or reaching certain milestones for other people's vision for your life. It's about a different kind of focus. And so he talks about how we all start out perfect, and all beings begin in non-being, and we all come from a source. And some people call it God, some people call it spirit, some people call it Tao, some people call it energy. Whatever works for your personal belief system, that is what you can call it. And he says like how for the first 9 months of our life, from conception till the time we are born, everything is taken care of for us. We don't have to worry about anything. We're in there, we're getting what we need, and that's just what it is. And everything we need to be who we are is already also within us at that time, even before we are born. In our very core, in our DNA, our own personal spirit, we have what we need to be who we are. And then you enter the ego. You're born, and you are thrust into this world where there are all kinds of other opinions and ideas and visions and social norms that are like thrust upon us. And the ego is the collective of everything that we have been told in our lives. And it's thrust on us until we get to the point where we can't trust ourselves. As a kid, you just go and do what you feel like doing. Like we all see our kids do these random things. We're like, why did you do that? But when we start to not trust ourselves, we don't trust our feelings, we don't trust our own personal motivation, we don't trust our goals, and we begin to relate who we are to the outside world as to who we are on the inside. And that is where ambition rules us. And so he talks about the ego, and I call it the mess of the ego, because the ego is what messes us up. And he breaks it down into 3 aspects, the have, the do, and the am. And he talks about ego standing for edging God out. And again, you can sub that with anything. So it's when you start to edge out that spirit and that source, that energy, and you start to let these materialistic ambitions get in the way, you start to deal with the ego. And he talks about the have. So it's where we identify ourselves by we are what we have. The more I have, the more valuable I am to society, friends, family, your boss. And then there's that fear that if what you have goes away, you lose that identity. And then there's the do, that I am what I do, and it's achievement, and success is number 1. Value is on accomplishment and competition. And I've experienced that in my own life where I would come home with a certain mark on a test and I'd be told, well, this mark would have been better. There's no celebration of what the achievement personally was, that it was way better than I had done previously. And then there is the am, and it's where priority is placed on reputation and how you fit in. And this is an especially troubling one for women because we highly relate to fitting in and to our family roles, even though many feel that extra pull for something more in their lives, but they ignore it. And so then he talks about the shift that takes place from when you go in the morning of your life, when the ego is what is driving you, to you go to where something else is what's driving you. And that all begins when we realize that we are all related to something so much bigger. It's what surrounds us, it's within us, it's what's between us. And we try to take the ego constructs into what we are doing, but they don't fit into the afternoon of our lives. And you need to trust the shift. It's a Lao Tzu quote that talks about let yourself be lived by it. Believe that we are guided and trust it versus taking over and to stop controlling. And it's when winning takes a backseat because personal fulfillment is now the objective. And that doesn't always happen at once. It's not like, bam, you've shifted. It can be a gradual process, or for some people, it can be an instantaneous process. And a way that you can tell if it's ego or fulfillment is how are you feeling? If you are feeling stressed out, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling afraid, those are things that are telling you that it's the ego. Like, what is it that you're afraid of? You're afraid you're not going to get a particular job. Well, why are you afraid you're not going to get that job? Is it because then your value changes? But if you are dealing in the after the shift, if you're in the afternoon, then you are feeling a more blissful feeling. You are feeling inspired. You are feeling happy, content, and joyful. And that's not to say that sometimes you don't feel stressed out or you don't feel angry about things, but you can let them go so much easier when your ego is not a part of those feelings. And making the shift. A quote that he talked about from T.S. Eliot was that we shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. And the shift begins to happen when we quiet those murmurings and yellings of the outside world, those opinions, and we become aware and we realize our own capabilities that we have not been realizing before. And it's when we are closest to that source energy. And some of the characteristics of that is when our definition of success changes. So for example, in our business, if it's the ego talking, it's like, yay, I hit Success Club 10. If it is in the afternoon where fulfillment is talking, it is say, I helped 5 people. It takes the emphasis from strictly from what it does for us to what it also does for other people. And that is when we can also experience both feelings of fear and of freedom. And so it's the classic, you can forget everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. And it's when we begin to feel guided by something bigger than ourselves. And it's an enduring feeling. It's not a fleeting feeling. And it often occurs at low points in our lives to propel us into the next place. And I'm sure you guys have all seen that meme online, on Facebook, where it's like the arrow pulling back and how you have to have it so far back to be able to propel it into that next level. And in the afternoon, it also teaches us to be soft and flexible and less in control because we are letting it go and we are giving it to something bigger than ourselves. And a story that he talked about was a story written by Leo Tolstoy. And I guess apparently Leo Tolstoy, in addition to writing grand novels, also wrote like short stories. And so he wrote a story called The Death of Ivan Ilyich. And it's about a man who feels resentment towards his wife because he feels trapped in his job because he has to provide for her. And so resentment leads to hate, and he basically hates his wife. And then on his deathbed, he says to her, what if my whole life was wrong? And then he dies. And so the moral that was brought out of that story is, why do we wait until we are at that point to actually reconcile ourselves with our purpose? Why do people wait that long? You'll see interviews or articles about what people say on their deathbeds, and then that's it. They wish they had laughed more. They wish they had played more. They wish they'd spent more time with their families. And all those things that the ego tells you what you should be going for, they don't matter anymore. And the quote that Dr. Dyer says after that, what he wrote down as soon as he read that story is, don't die with your music still inside you. And so he talks about being in the afternoon of your life. So we've left the morning of your life where the ego is what rules you. And in the afternoon, it is enthusiasm and passion. The ego leaves us. And it's no longer the external destiny that is the driving force. We have come to realization that we are doing what we are set here to do. And we have, again, that much bigger, broader sense of who we are and what we are here to do, not what somebody else has told us that we are here to do. And there was a great study that he talked about, and it was they take the before and after of the people's important aspects of their life before they have the shift, what their priorities were before they had their shift in their life to what their priorities were after. And they also saw that men and women change in different ways. And I'm going to tell you, show you what those aspects were for both men and women. So for men before, the number one thing was wealth, adventure, achievement, pleasure, and to be respected. And after they go through that shift, spirituality becomes number one. Then personal peace, having less stress. Family is number three, whereas before, family wasn't even in the top 5. It was like way, way down at the bottom of the list. Having a purpose and honesty, not even just honesty as in like not committing crimes, but honesty as in honesty with oneself. And so women, number one priority is family, then followed by independence and career. And then we also deal with fitting in and attractiveness. Like, it's no wonder that we as women are so often messed up because we are being told by the outside world that our number one priority has to be our family, but then we're told we have to be strong, independent women. And then we're told we have to be career women, all the same time while having a great circle of friends and being beautiful all the time. And it's impossible to actually maintain that because that is the things that the ego is telling us that we should be doing. The ego, which has been created by all those outside forces. Women, after they go through their shift, their number one thing actually becomes personal growth. How can I change as a person? How can I develop as a person? Next comes sense of value, and not their value to other people, but sense of value to themselves. The third thing is spirituality, and like not in a religious sort of way, but in a connectedness sort of way. And then followed by happiness and forgiveness. So some of the realizations that take place in the afternoon is what you need is already within you, and all things are possible. And you start asking, like you stop looking at, well, this is what I want this kind of career and this kind of car and this kind of bank account. And you start asking yourself, how can I want more for someone else than for me? How is it that I can want this person to have that kind of lifestyle even over myself? And it takes people from a sense of entitlement to humility. And in the video, he says, like, after all these millions of years, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. And in the big picture, we are here to serve ourselves and to serve others and not ourselves. Ambition becomes the ambition to serve others. So it's not that ambition is necessarily the bad thing. It's when ambition is ruled by ego as opposed to ambition to make the world a better place. The ego is the false self. And when we lose ego, we reveal our authentic selves. And he talks about the virtues that Lao Tzu talks about and the 4 virtues that we should all live in our life. And that number 1 is reverence for all life, sincerity, gentleness, and supportiveness. And I think all of these things are very relevant to what we do as coaches. We are trying to help other people from a place of supportiveness, from a place of gentleness, from a place of sincerity, and with a place for reverence for other people's lives. And so in the end, we all will get it. Now, whether you get it when you are on that proverbial deathbed or whether you get it earlier in your life, why do we have to wait until we get to that point to make that shift in our life? And again, how he says, don't let your music die still inside of you. And lastly, the call to action is watch the movie. You have to watch the movie. It is such an awesome movie. I've given you all these great takeaways, and those are things that you can see in it. But there are so many awesome things in it. The scenes where, with the mom especially, the movie starts out with the mom. She's getting her kids ready to go on vacation, and she's got to be picking up stuff. She's talking to herself out loud of all these things she has to do. And then, but you can see in her that she just feels like there has got to be something more for her than just what she is doing day in, day out, doing laundry and dishes and that kind of thing. So I'm going to close that off. That was like 15 minutes? Wow. I'm going to stop the screen share. And who wants to say something? Lisa. Turn your screen off. You're awful. And Sheena's screen is off. And Sherry is there.
Am I the only Lisa?
Oh, yes, you are. Oh, your audio is there. You
I'm
go.
unmuted even. Hello, everyone.
Hello. How are you?
I'm all right. Griffin is at Grandma and Grandpa's house tonight for sleepover. So
That's
it's
nice.
just for it. It's almost like having no kids.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But
Yes.
well, I'm looking forward to this movie.
Yes. I put the YouTube link in the team page so that everybody can go and watch it. It's a 2-hour movie, so if you can like watch it in bits and pieces and just kind of remember where you left off in it and then like go back to it, because I know it's hard to sit there and watch a 2-hour movie when you've got kids running around, but they can be loud. But it was really neat how they like combined like those fictional stories so you can actually see those people going through the shifts in their life, and it personalizes it so you can actually see how you can how those shifts can apply to you as well, kind of thing. So yeah.
Awesome.
Anybody else want to say anything? Anybody have any questions? Technical questions? Back office questions? I talked way faster than I thought I was going to. I thought I was going to be like way too long.
That's okay. It'll get better. It'll get easier. Don't be scared. We're not scared. Don't be scared.
At least it'll upload quickly. Anyways, if no one has anything else to say, I will say thank you, everyone, for being on and giving up 20 minutes of your time on a Tuesday evening. Oh, yeah, picture. How do I set this up here so I can go like this? Gallery view. There we all are. Woohoo! Okay. So I'm going to go like this. Everybody smile. Cheese. There we go. I don't need to do 2 screenshots quite yet. All right, so I will load this up and I will put it in the group. And please make sure, everybody, that you go and watch the movie. It really is fantastic. Free on YouTube, so go get the free stuff. Bye.